Thank you for joining us for the Advanced Manufacturing panel. Can you guys hear me okay in the back, or do I need to? Okay, very good. We have these very fancy mics here. My name is Dr. Veronique Tran, and I'm with Dallas College, serving as the Vice Provost for our School of Manufacturing and Industrial Technology. And it's my pleasure to moderate the panel this morning. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves and their connection to manufacturing. And if they happen to forget something, I'll chime in. So with that, let's start with Paul Mayer.
Good morning. Paul Mayer. My day job is CEO of the Garland Chamber, and as a result of that, also runs the Dallas County Manufacturing Association. 50 years in the chamber business, building communities, 35 years of Garland. If you come to Garland, you come to a manufacturer founded for all of North Texas. So if you're in the business of supporting business and your main business is manufacturing, you form a focus in that area. That's why in 2006 we formed the Manufacturers Association. If you're a manufacturer or you work in manufacturing, that's a tough group worker. So 19 years of we're building relationships with these folks, building programs. Started the Manufacturers Association around skills development grants and being competitive, and it morphed into a whole portfolio of programs. Worked obviously very closely with the college. We were housed here at this building 12 years ago when the college built 5 of these. They built this one for workforce and put us in this, East Music. Wow, happy to be.
Thank you. And Ted?
Hi, my name is Ted Moise. I spent 30 years working at Texas Instruments, bringing technologies from very early R&D to HV production. I retired from TI and Wheaton University, started teaching. In 2022, I received Texas Pilots for it was an YTexas Semiconductor Institute. We have 3 lives of institute. One is a research part, one is a startup innovation part, and the third leg is a workforce at all. And we've had great opportunity to work for many of the community colleges, the Dallas College, the name of the companies there. I can talk about that anymore either.
And then Mark.
My name is Mark King, and I just sold my company Micropack to Teledyne. It's a $6 billion company. So congratulations to the whole team. And you learn a lot when you sell a company, by the way. I like to point that out. But I did that for 22 years. I have currently have my own consulting business, and I'm engaged with across Texas with Texas Manufacturing Assistance Center. I'm on the board. I'm on the Dallas County Manufacturing Association's board. I am also working with private equity firms in manufacturing, teaching courses in manufacturing. So I'm very much engaged in giving back all that I have learned, and I've learned a lot, experienced a lot. So that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with the first question for Paul. What are you seeing as far as the landscape of the manufacturing industry at DFW, or specifically Dallas County, and what are some examples of expansion or new companies that are relocating here?
Well, if you're in Garland and you don't know manufacturing, you're not going to last long. And I'm a chamber guy, so my class is always has to be that full. But I'm productively and quantifiably excited about where manufacturing is. Garland's been blessed for 100 years with a stable group of manufacturers that have to be here. So we really were affected by the offshoring and now you're onshoring. But what's exciting is manufacturing is coming back in a very prominent way. If you're an economist, you have to build something to have a basis for an economy. So all of that to say is it's a great time to be in manufacturing. It's a nervous time to be in manufacturing because manufacturing is evolving. You heard the chancellor at Texas A&M talking about the roles of education, the role of developing the workforce. In Garland, we built the boxes 56 years ago. Kraft and Elastopac and Emerson Peoples and General Dynamics, lots of errors. 300 manufacturers in total. Those boxes have been there. The evolution is what's going on inside those boxes. That's the real exciting thing about manufacturing is the advent of with AI, of automation, and it will be to iterate, and this is why Dr. Tran is my personal hero, because getting people ready to go to work is the key. So in terms of the overall environment for manufacturing, it's moving into our golden era. It's moving into the time where people recognize it. The work at getting parents and teachers and counselors recognize that manufacturing is not the 4Ds, the old vectors, data dirty. It's the future. And the technology that's involved, the skills that are necessary is exciting, which is necessary because we don't have as many people anymore as we used to. So elevating skills and getting people ready, in economic development, like I said, for over 50 years, I define economic development as the ability for an individual to get to a place in life that they want. That's a function of skills. So all that in the package of where manufacturing is going, and it's exciting. What we're seeing in the Garland's and micropounds, because we had, like I said, 300 manufacturing here, is the evolution of expansion. Kraft first started the government in 1949. 8 years ago was probably going to go away. 200 people, little future. The Lions been moved out. At about the time Kraft and Heinz got together, and they have a little product called Lunchables, which is their most profitable product. They came to Garland, looked at Garland, and said, "Okay, you've been here since 1949. It's old building. Let's go look around the country." Came back because Garland sits in the middle of the company. So from a distribution standpoint, you make the volume that they make, you can get that all. But that wasn't the deciding factor. The deciding factor was, for generations, for 70 years, they had a workforce here. So today, that plant that was 200 people a few years ago is now 1,500 people. The number one producing plant in all of practical Heinz. It attributes to people. Now, when you're making Lunchables, you're at a line, you're at a 4-degree room, 8 hours a day, 3 shifts, morning to side. That's not sustainable. What they're moving right now is robots that are putting the chews in the crackers. So that's one example. I could go on and on about the different examples. What we're seeing in the region, Dr. Tran and I sat at a meeting weeks ago with a solar company coming into Dallas area, needing 1,500 people. Unfortunately, I won't mention any names, they picked a location in an area that doesn't have a lot of people. So they're up here recruiting our students. So you'll see more and more of that glows. General Dynamics did a big expansion. Again, I hear the ahs from my moderator, but says, "Paul, it's time for you to stop." So thank you.
Thank you so much. And just to kind of add to that, kind of high level, that the companies that have been here a while are automating, and then the new ones coming in are bringing in, building new plants that have automation. So that's really a key piece of it. And for our education partners, being able to keep up to date with that and being adaptable is really important. So I'm going to move to Ted now, kind of representing education, I suppose, here, as well as myself. How has the onshoring of semiconductor manufacturing influenced workforce development strategies for 2-year colleges and 4-year universities?
And so you're probably aware that there's a huge amount of investment in semiconductors. In North Texas, private investments
surpassed the announced private investments has passed $30 billion. In all of Texas, about $90 billion. If you add some of the companies that are fortunate enough to get subsidies or assistance for our CHIPS Act, that's a couple $1 billion of direct assistance and then several $1 billion in tax facilities. So there's been this huge push as a result of the pandemic and the difficulty of getting consumer electronics and the associated risks with China and Taiwan. There's been this huge push to onshore or reshore or expand the manufacture of semiconductors in the U.S. Texas is the number one exporter of semiconductors and has been that way for the last 12 years. That is the largest manufacturing capacity in the country. So semiconductors is a major part of the economy there. So in December of 22, as everybody was aware of the desire to start increasing manufacturing in the U.S. and North Texas specifically, We held a conference, a little bit of a workshop at UT Dallas. We're fortunate enough to have the manufacturers to the North Texas attend. Texas hits for the two here for TI Labor Today, Mobile Wafers, Corvo, Coherent, et cetera, et cetera. The community colleges were there. We had representatives from New York Creates, representatives from California, which is from Purdue. And when we asked the companies what they needed, UTD is a 4-year university, so we fully anticipated the answer was going to be engineers and lots of, which it was. But the really interesting part of it was that these companies could source engineers across the nation, even internationally. They said the number one need they have is with technicians. And each of the companies told stories about how technicians would be moved from one company to the next, because the demand was so high. And the fill rates of technicians were much, much lower than that of engineers. And so with that information in hand, we ended up pulling together, with the help of the Department of Education, what we're calling this North Texas Workforce Development Consortium. So it consists of the manufacturing companies in the area, TI, Cormo, Global Wafers, Coherent, Aerokeed, et cetera. Community colleges in the area, Dallas College, Collin College, North Central Texas College, Texas State Technical College, Brayson College, and UTD, and then UT Arlington is kind of a evaluator tracking all the data and had third-party assessor, if you will. And over the past, and the goal of this consortium was to increase the number of technicians. And what we did was to ask each of the companies what they needed. And the companies started off saying, well, we really like this, that, we want this specific or that specific item. And it ended up, after a while, that the companies all agreed that advanced manufacturing education, which is the electronic technology, the robotics, automation, was really the key of what they needed. And instead of trying to make something company-specific, they agreed to all focus on advanced manufacturing, which made it much, much easier because now the community colleges, TSTC, could offer this similar curriculum and have students that would be employed by these companies. So that was one really interesting aspect. But the other really interesting aspect is that we asked the goals, how much more students do you want? Companies said we want an increase of 20. So not feasible in the short term. We asked community colleges, back and forth. So we ended up setting a goal of an increase in 3x over 3 years, and we're well on our way to that in terms of the number of people in this program. Now, the really interesting part was that we asked each of the community colleges at TSTC, what can you get to reach that goal? And the answers were extremely different. If you're at a place like Com College, for example, we asked them what they needed, anticipating the answer was going to be faculty and labs, but it wasn't. They had the faculty, they had the labs. The answer was that we don't have students. And so what we did was to work with Collin College in developing recruiting, help sponsor recruiting, help sponsor create videos of it, entice students and things like that. Go up to Grayson College, much more rural. We asked them what they need to increase by faculty 3 over 3 years. And they said, you need faculty, you need labs. And so we helped, through this cruise grant to support some of that activity. The other big part of it was how to expand beyond just the community colleges. And one thing that Dr. Tran has done, working with the TA, is develop a CTE course in semiconductor technology, which has helped to expand the activity from those 5 colleges that I mentioned to ultimately many, many high schools. So maybe I'll kick it back to you briefly if you want to talk about that.
Yes, thanks. And I think this is a great example of not only regional but also Texas-wide collaboration. So with support initially with Texas Instruments in developing a high school CTE regional program and study in electronics technology. And so this is an alternative path to electrical engineering, right? So that we're specifically for training students who would want to pursue this technician path. We then, TI connected us to Samsung. And so we had regions, ASC regions 10 and 11 here for covering Dallas-Fort Worth. Samsung then brought in on region 5 and 12 and 13. And so we have 5 regions that all applied with the same program of study to the TEA to get this approved, and we have it approved now. But what it does is enable a pathway for high school students, and in working, we've been piloting Dallas ISD now, where we're developing a college rigor level curriculum and training their teachers on that so we can have an articulated credit model so that when they can use their high school CT teachers, as we know how the shortage of faculty, right, and subject matter expertise is one of the barriers. So we eliminated that barrier by creating a electronics teacher institute to train them, providing the curriculum so that we know that this level of quality and rigor is there so that by the time the students graduate, they will have that level 1 certificate. And you'll hear later today of Lauren Alder, who's one of our keynote speakers during lunch. Companies are making adjustments to their entry-level equipment technician requirements. Used to be associate's degrees, but now they're realizing that the skills-based businesses, that if the students have the skills with the level 1 certificate, that they can enter into those equipment technician entry-level jobs. And so now by developing this articulated credit model, we're not limited, the community colleges are not limited to only our sites. We've amplified the number of sites to all these high schools that potentially could be training sites and developing this robust pipeline. One thing that I'll also add is that the curriculum that we've developed is not semiconductor manufacturing specific. It's all advanced manufacturing. There are some course electives that are semiconductor manufacturing if students already know that they want to pursue that path. But otherwise, the training that we provide is broadly applicable to any manufacturing. I think that's really important too, is that we know ebbs and flows, right? You don't want to latch on to any one particular deep dive into alignment, but really as a sector of understanding what they need and developing a training solution that works for everyone. And it also provides our students with more choice as well. So thank you, Ted. So with that, we've been talking about this evolution in technology and automation, including AI. So I wanted to ask Mark, with increasing availability of these technology tools, including AI, what are some ways that manufacturers can improve their efficiency and productivity?
Thank you for the question. If we had all day, talk to that subject because it's a very broad topic. And I'm available after this session to talk to anybody about details. But I wanted to bring out something that I think everybody should be aware of, and it does drive, the need for education and where we need to set some career paths. When we talk about manufacturing, we produce several things. We produce products, obviously. We also produce a ton of data. If you think about it, manufacturing produces a ton of data, and our mission in life is to convert that data into information that can drive the behaviors inside your business, that will drive your business. This is not new. We've been doing this for over 100 years, trying to convert data into information to drive the business. So if you think of that context, we must, in manufacturing, to adopt and implement advanced manufacturing. And I'm speaking now, I use the word we industry. I'm giving you the industry perspective. We in the industry, in the manufacturing industry, have to adopt a data-driven culture and a data-driven strategy. So remember that. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. That's so important as we advance into these paradigm shifts of using the technologies that are available. And I give you an example of data. Do you realize that in 2025, on the global scale of all data, we're at 175 zettabytes or zettabytes, depending on how you want to pronounce that. If you want to know how much that is, that's 10 to the 21st power. Summary, the experts tell me that in the last 2 years, we've generated more data on the planet Earth than we did prior to that in all the history of mankind. Think about data growing exponentially. Manufacturing has too much data, but not enough information. So how do we cross that hurdle? What technologies are going to be impacted by that? So, first of all, I think that what we need to do is look at data and have a strategy that integrates it across the enterprise. What I might call an enterprise integrated data system. Some of you might know that as an ERP, an enterprise resource planning system. So there's a lot of companies, Salesforce and ERP systems out there, SAP, Epicor that we used, and Micropad, are developing the method to convert this data into useful information And it's not until a company and a manufacturing company gets to that point that their data has that discipline, information and validation, that they can then, across the enterprise, once that data is established, then we can start talking about AI. That's where AI is going to absorb the data and take you to the next level of excellence. So the first step is to get your data right, and the second step is to look at AI and the innovations of AI. And AI, I kind of look at, by the way, putting an ERP system in is painful. I did it personally. It's costly. It always takes 10 times as long as you think it does. But it's worth it because what it does, it forces you to have the discipline in your data, and you can't do anything without it in manufacturing. And AI, there's a couple areas that I kind of break it out into. First is what I call data analytics. And this is in the broad, anywhere along the value stream in manufacturing, data analytics is going to be a powerful tool in technology to take us to the next level of excellence and scale the business. And what I talk about is creating a business that I can scale. Fixed costs be the same, I can scale the variable cost and grow the business and hence grow value. The second, of course, is in the automation and robotics area, where a lot of exciting work is being done and AI is being applied to that. But I would tell you that, working with other CEOs in my space, in industry, manufacturing, 4 things that keep us up at night. Number 1, guess what? Workforce. Yes, workforce keeps us up at night. The other is supply chain. Supply chain is something that is always changing and unpredictable, and it's something that keeps you up at night. The third is what advanced technologies can you incorporate to get competitive advantage? And the fourth is we live, as a CEO, I live in an environment where I have to predict the future, and the future is unknown. The change management it takes, and the guts it takes to buy material before I even know what the order is. So those are the 4 areas of which keeps us up at night. I want to give some examples of what you get AI and buy incorporated into your business and your culture. I wrote down some examples. Business forecasting, this idea of using data, interpreting and to understand what your forecast needs to be, what equipment you need to buy, what people you need to hire. All of that is very, very, it's unknown space, and it's very difficult. Supply chain management, particularly managing your inventory. They're front-loading inventory because of all the tariffs, so they got, companies are buying stuff in safety stock, hoping that they'll get the orders to implement that material. Predictive maintenance, that's just one small example, but the ability to predict equipment and when it needs to be updated and repaired is something that if you want to really shut down a company, shut down the work cell by having the equipment non-operate. QC inspection, testing. This is an area that I'm really excited about because, especially visual inspection, it's amazing what could be done with AI. The thing I didn't put on my list, but I would like to add, is simulations. And Gen AI could be used for product development and streamline a lot of the difficulties and long efforts and time it takes for product development and cycle times. And of course, you're going to always have the automation of robotics and data analytics. So I'm going to kind of summarize it here at the end and say, first and foremost, to implement advanced technology in manufacturing, we need to be data-driven, and the data has to be corrected and submitted. You can imagine in an ERP system, and you got all this data. If you don't have any units of measures correct, and one time you're buying cable by weight, another one you're buying it by foot. How do you keep track of all that? How do you keep that straight? You have a direct employee that may get called over to help somebody for 10 minutes. Turns out to be 3 hours, but they didn't clock out of their time. So a lot of errors in the data that's collected, and that's really a challenge. And of course, second then is AI. Then AI could take that data in as much of it as you want to feed it and convert it into KPIs and things that drive the business. And that's where I think I get really excited about. It's just unlimited amount of where you look at a value stream in manufacturing where AI will be a multiple. It's a paradigm shift, and it's happening right now. Big companies are doing it all the time. General Electric, Siemens, Nike, of course, Tesla. There's a lot of companies out there already implementing AI. The ERP system that you're using if you're in manufacturing already is millions of dollars being spent in AI in the ERP system itself. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much for that valuable industry perspective. I think one of the things that I'll say there is like just in hearing Mark, my wheels are turning. Like, okay, what does that mean? Workforce training, right? Is it upskilling of current employees? Is it getting middle school students interested in this work because they and their parents have a certain stereotype of what manufacturing is? All these things that we need to consider as we have this evolution really in manufacturing. And so we as leaders in that space do think ahead because it's coming or it's already here really. I think, there's rhetoric about, with automation, these jobs are going away. Certain jobs that are manual labor are going away, but in exchange for those, you have these highly skilled troubleshooting, problem-solving skills that are really are more exciting, for both employees that are being upskilled as well as attracting a new workforce pipeline to this work. So it's an amazing time to be in this work. I feel like, and Ted, speaking about semiconductor, we're like in a once-in-a-lifetime, infusion of this reshoring, as you say, of semiconductor, and you'll hear later in the keynote that with TI investing $30 billion here just in North Texas, right? So we're in unprecedented times here.
But what I just did, one more thing to add, in early March, I'm going to be going to DC. Sorry about that. Battery with that. To lobby Congress on manufacturing, and one of the things that there's a lot of it is political. It just turns that way. But there's a lot going on in onshoring. There's a lot of bipartisan support for manufacturing within the state of Texas and nationally. And so I think it's important that this collaboration that we're doing and the needs are being discussed and organized in a way that when it comes time to voting for funding and support, it will get there by the fact that we as a nation have an opportunity across all these industries to provide a competitive advantage and create jobs and create a great country, right?
Yes, thanks so much.
Yep, maybe just one quick thing to add to that is that with respect to upskilling and reskilling, one of the industry trends is that, hey, can we take our engineers who've been working in process security, creation, test, whatever, for how many years, and upskill them in terms of data science and AI and machine. So as you mentioned, that's really, even since I left TI a couple years ago, that's really much stronger trend I'd seen before.
It's okay to pay. It's working on. It's okay to pay people more. We want to pay people more to do that, right? So that's the advantage. Is the jobs in manufacturing are not minimum wage anymore.
Right, and that goes along with the value add and the recognition of the value that they're bringing, right? Because you're saying, okay, you have all this data, it needs to be processed. It's going to result in increased productivity and efficiencies, versus the old way of doing things. That I see my 2-minute warning, which is probably down to 1 minute right now, but I did want us to, we're here at this YTexas event, and so I just wanted to throw it out there to the panelists in terms of any other things that we have not yet discussed of what ways we can collaborate statewide to further our initiatives in advanced manufacturing and really demonstrate to the nation and our elected officials that Texas is the place to be.
I think creating a role model that people want to emulate. When you talk about the collaboration between industry and education and
the chancellor mentioned the next generation sector partnership, which is a huge undertaking to listen to industry and create programs that benefit them directly.
That's a best practice. And so when you have a best practice and you're already in a collaborative environment, there's probably 6 or 8 manufacturer associations around the state all looking for what's next. They're looking for what we're doing here. We're looking for what we're doing in Houston. They're doing around the state. So collaboration, talk about semiconductors, the collaboration all the way up to the open border. So keep doing those kinds of things. Keep listening. I know I've been doing this a very long time, and I learn something every single day. So best practices are what's next.
Texas is one of the unique, it's probably the only state that in the United States that has 2 very major centers of semiconductor production, one in Central Texas, one in North Texas. So we spend a lot of time working with the folks down in Austin, how to implement workforce development, both at the bachelor's level, master role, and for technicians trying to trade best practices in Massachusetts. And I'm hopeful through some of this Texas American Innovation Fund, other activities with to that.
Collaboration.
Thank you. And I'll just say that I think that there's what I'd like to encourage is collaboration versus competitiveness, because just in North Texas alone, we have a need for 10,000 jobs. There are 10,000 jobs in the next 3 years. Dallas College alone obviously cannot produce that many, and so that's why we're collaborating to develop these models and sharing them, thinking of other ways that we can build this pipeline so that at the end of the day, the reason why we're all here is that we have residents that could be in career-changing and life-changing jobs, right, that can provide for their families more than a living wage. And so being able to build those pathways, we're encouraging those and really elevating everybody in our communities. I just encourage us all to continue to work together and share amongst ourselves in Texas. We also get calls from like Arizona and Ohio and other places to share, which we do share, but we don't tell them all the secrets, you know? But if you're a fellow Texas institution, we'd be glad to meet with you and kind of talk about how we've been able to build different models and so forth. And we're not saying that this is the way to do it, but I think, you know, as we learn from each other, we can say, yeah, I have a different industry, but this model works, you know, as to Paul's point as well. So thank you so much. We will be around to answer any more individual questions that you may have, but appreciate your time and attention.
It's easy. He's annoyed.
We will begin the next session at 10:25, and that will be Healthcare, How Science and Technology Will Transform Mankind in the breakout room. And the main room will be Aerospace and Defense, Why Texas is Leading the Space Race. And that'll be at 10:25.